Today, we are using the narrative framework of the 2024 film Madam Web to explore this massive human dilemma.
And there's a lot to dig into there.
Oh, so much. We're getting into determinism versus free will, the psychological mechanics of trauma, and honestly, why human beings so often prefer a guaranteed negative outcome over the anxiety of uncertainty.
Yeah, that last part is so deeply ingrained in human nature, and to really understand that, we have to look at the protagonist, Cassandra Webb.
Right.
But we have to look at her entirely stripped of the superhero context.
Just as a person.
Exactly. We have to examine who she is before the future comes, crashing into her life.
Yeah.
Because her baseline psychological state dictates exactly how this impossible knowledge ends up fracturing her reality.
So let's look at that baseline. Cassandra is a dedicated New York City paramedic.
A very intense job.
Incredibly intense. And from the outside, she is highly functioning, She's spending her days and nights responding to sheer chaos.
Right. Literally the worst moments of people's lives.
Exactly. She's stepping into the absolute worst, most traumatic moments of strangers' lives and pulling them back from the brink.
Which requires an incredible amount of focus.
Focus, courage, technical skill, all of it. But internally, she is carrying this massive, unaddressed burden.
Yeah, she's really struggling under the surface.
She has all these unanswered questions about her own family, specifically the deeply mysterious circumstances surrounding her mother's death.
Right.
And her coping mechanism is to just aggressively ignore it. I mean, she completely suppresses the past.
It is a textbook case of functional avoidance.
Functional avoidance. Break that down for us.
So, the choice of profession here is not accidental. Being an emergency medical responder in a massive, chaotic environment like New York City.
Right, loud sirens, constant movement.
Exactly. It provides the perfect psychological shield. The environment is so loud and the stakes are so immediate. I mean, it's literally life or death right in front of you.
Yeah.
So it demands 100% of your cognitive bandwidth. She is using the relentless, screaming emergency of the present moment to drown out the quiet, lingering trauma of her past.
Wow. I want to dig into that concept of functional avoidance for a second, because it sounds almost like an oxymoron.
It does, right.
Yeah. I mean, if you're avoiding something, how is it functional? But I guess, we see this all the time in everyday life.
Oh, absolutely. Everywhere.
Think about the classic workaholic, the person who is physically incapable of sitting alone in a quiet room with their own thoughts.
We all know someone like that.
Right. So they take on 3 extra projects, they volunteer for every committee, they stack their calendar so tight that they literally don't have time to feel anything.
Yeah, just run themselves ragged.
And they tell themselves, and honestly, society tells them, that they are just incredibly productive and driven.
Right, they get praised for it.
Exactly. But really, they are just running away from a ghost.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And it's rewarded by society. Cassandra is saving lives, so her avoidance is highly pro-social.
Everyone thinks she's a hero for working so hard.
Exactly. But neurologically and psychologically, she is operating on an endless loop of adrenaline and cortisol.
Just constantly stress.
Constant stress. When you are constantly in a state of triage, your brain downregulates its capacity for deep introspective processing.
Because you don't have time to process when someone is bleeding out.
Right. You are stuck in the sympathetic nervous system. That's the fight or flight mode. You don't have to ask why a car crashed or why someone is sick.
You just apply the tourniquet.
You apply the tourniquet, you stabilize the vital signs, you pass them off to the hospital, and you move to the next crisis. It is an existence entirely bounded by the immediate physical present.
So she has effectively built a fortress out of the present tense.
Yes, exactly.
She's convinced herself that dwelling on a past she can't change is useless, which, on a surface level, sounds incredibly pragmatic.
It sounds like good advice, honestly.
Right. A lot of self-help gurus preach exactly that. Live in the now.
Be present. Yeah, we hear it all the time. But there is a massive difference between mindfulness, which is acknowledging the present without judgment, and using the present as an anesthetic.
Oh, wow. Using the present as an anesthetic? That's powerful.
Because that's what she's doing. Cassandra is using the present to anesthetize herself against the past.
Great.
And when you build your entire psychological foundation on the rigid control of the immediate present, you become incredibly fragile to anything that disrupts that timeline.
Which brings us to the moment that Fortress collapses.
The catalyst.
Right, the catalyst. She experiences this near-fatal accident. she essentially dies and is brought back.
A massive trauma in itself.
Exactly. And suddenly, this woman who has ruthlessly anchored herself to the present tense starts experiencing the future.
Her worst nightmare, basically.
Yeah, she starts having these terrifying, brief flashes of events right before they happen, glimpses of a conversation just before a person opens their mouth.
Or a deadly accident moments before the impact.
Exactly. And this is where we have to completely abandon the idea of a superpower, right?
100%. Put yourself in the mind of a highly rational, medically trained professional.
Right. She's not a mystic. She's a scientist, basically.
Yeah, exactly. You know how the brain works. You know how trauma affects cognition when you suddenly start experiencing hyper-realistic hallucinations of events that haven't occurred yet.
You don't think, oh, cool, I'm a superhero.
No, you think, I am having a severe psychotic break.
That's the part that really gets me. It would induce total psychological paralysis.
Total paralysis.
Because, I mean, if you start seeing the future in these violent, uncontrolled flashes, how do you even function? How do you, chop vegetables?
Or drive an ambulance through New York City traffic.
Exactly. Every single vision feels like a symptom of a trauma-induced breakdown. It's like having PTSD, but instead of flashing backward to a trauma that already happened.
That's just how it normally works.
Right. You are flashing forward to a trauma that is about to happen.
That concept of flashing forward is really crucial. What you're describing is essentially epistemological shock.
Epistemological shock. Explain that a bit more.
So, her entire framework for understanding reality, causality, and time is just shattering. In traditional PTSD, the amygdala, which is the brain's threat detection center, is reacting to an environmental trigger.
Like a loud noise or a specific smell.
Right. And it floods the body with the exact same physiological panic as the original traumatic event. The brain struggles to differentiate between the past memory and the present reality.
It thinks the danger is happening right now.
Exactly. But Cassandra is experiencing this mechanism in reverse. Her amygdala is firing based on a threat that hasn't materialized in physical space yet.
I see what you're getting at, but let me push back on how we categorize this for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
If it were just an internal psychological breakdown, eventually she would realize the visions aren't real.
Right, that would be the hope.
Right, like she would go to a psychiatrist, get medicated, and learn to ground herself. But the true horror here is that the visions are real.
Yes, that's the kicker.
The car crash actually happens 10 seconds later. She has to transition from the terror of, I'm losing my mind, to the even more isolating terror of, my mind is perfectly fine, but the universe is fundamentally broken.
Yes, and that transition is agonizing. She is suddenly burdened with impossible knowledge.
Impossible knowledge.
Think about the sheer isolation that creates. Human beings are fundamentally social creatures, right? We regulate our nervous systems through shared reality.
Like we agree the sky is blue.
We agree the sky is blue. We agree on the flow of time. When you are the only person experiencing a non-linear reality, you are cut off from that social regulation.
You're completely alone.
You really are. You can't tell your colleagues at the EMS station. They'll think you're unfit for duty and pull you off the job.
Or you'd lose your livelihood.
You can't tell your friends. They'll try to have you committed. You're literally trapped in a silo of terrible foresight.
It's the classic Cassandra complex from Greek mythology, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It's actually brilliant that they named the character Cassandra in the movie. I mean, in the myth, Apollo gives Cassandra the gift of prophecy, but curses her so that no one will ever believe her.
Which is arguably worse than not seeing the future at all.
Exactly. She sees the fall of Troy, she sees all this death and destruction, and she just has to walk around screaming into the void while everyone calls her crazy.
It is the exact same archetype. And it forces us, as the audience, to ask a really uncomfortable question about human nature.
Which is
it better to be blissfully ignorant of a disaster, or to know it's coming and be entirely alone with that knowledge?
Wow. Yeah, I think most people would choose ignorance.
Honestly, Cassandra initially tries to choose ignorance. She tries to just shut it out. She tries to retreat back into her functional avoidance.
Go back to the noisy present.
Right. But the knowledge is just too loud.
And while she is drowning in this new, terrifying reality, the narrative introduces the dark mirror of her situation.
Yes, the antagonist.
We meet Ezekiel Sims, and Ezekiel isn't just getting random fragmented flashes of car accidents like she is.
No, he's way past that point.
He is a guy who has had these similar abilities for years, and he is being hunted by a very specific, recurring prophecy of his own demise.
Ezekiel is the architectural embodiment of what happens when fear is allowed to completely dictate your relationship with the future.
Right, he lets it control him completely.
He has amassed incredible wealth, immense power, and he operates from the shadows. But despite all of those resources, he is fundamentally defined by a singular, terrifying vision.
This vision of his death.
Yes. He sees several young women who, in some distant future, will become powerful figures and will be responsible for his downfall.
So his immediate logical conclusion is, I have to murder these teenagers before they even know who they are.
Which is the ultimate expression of rigid determinism taken to its most violent extreme.
Rigid determinism.
Right. He doesn't look at the vision and ask why they might cause his downfall. He doesn't consider if his own actions might provoke them in the first place.
He doesn't see himself as the catalyst.
Not at all.
Yeah.
He treats the future as an absolute unchangeable script, like a locked door. And if the door is locked, his only solution is to blow it off the hinges.
I want to look at his reasoning for a second, because I think it's really easy to just write him off as a cartoon villain, you know?
Sure, let's play devil's advocate.
Yeah, let's look at the utilitarian trap he's in. It's the classic baby Hitler ethical dilemma.
Ah, yes, the classic thought experiment.
Right. If you have absolute 100% certainty that someone is going to grow up to destroy you or destroy the world, aren't you morally obligated to stop them preemptively?
From his perspective, yes.
From Ezekiel's perspective, he's just acting in logical self-defense against a timeline that hasn't arrived yet.
That is a fascinating defense, but it hinges entirely on a flawed epistemological premise.
Which is the certainty part.
Exactly, the idea of 100% certainty. The utilitarian argument falls apart because human precognition, especially in this narrative universe, is not a perfect blueprint.
It's not set in stone.
Right. Ezekiel assumes his vision is a fixed destiny, but what he is actually seeing is a high probability vector based on his current trajectory.
Oh, wow.
By choosing preemptive violence, he isn't preventing the future. He is actively constructing the exact conditions required for that future to manifest.
Right. He's creating the self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like a guy who has a hyper-realistic dream that his house is going to burn down.
Okay, I like this. Go on.
So he panics, right? He goes out and buys 300 heavy-duty fire extinguishers and stacks them up in his living room, floor to ceiling, completely blocking the doors and windows.
Right, trying to control the environment.
Exactly. And then one day, the massive pile shifts, collapses on him, and he suffocates underneath them. His obsessive, fear-driven solution to avoid destruction becomes the exact mechanism of his death.
That's a great way to visualize the mechanics of it. He is acting out the tragedy of Oedipus.
Yes. Oedipus running from the prophecy.
In trying to outrun the prophecy, he runs straight into it. But let's look at the psychology of why he chooses that path.
Why violence instead of conversation?
Right. Why doesn't he try to find these young women and mentor them? Why doesn't he try to change his own behavior so they wouldn't want to destroy him?
It's a choice he's making.
It is, and it comes down to his relationship with control.
Wow.
The narrative points out that he is incredibly wealthy. And wealth, fundamentally, is a mechanism for removing friction and uncertainty from your daily life.
You can just buy your way out of problems.
Exactly. You buy security, you buy isolation, you buy compliance.
So his wealth actually makes him more vulnerable to his own paranoia.
Exactly. When you have unlimited resources, you never have to test your assumptions against reality.
No one ever tells you no.
Exactly. You never have to compromise or collaborate. If Ezekiel were a normal, working-class person who had a terrible dream about his coworkers, he couldn't just go murder them.
Right, he wouldn't have the means or the cover-up money.
He'd have to sit with the anxiety, he'd have to navigate the social friction. But because his wealth insulates him, he has the budget to act out his massive paranoia on a grand scale.
That's wild.
His money doesn't make him free. It acts as an amplifier for his psychological prison.
He is completely isolated by his own power, which is such a stark contrast to Cassandra.
Complete opposite.
Yeah, I mean, she's living in a cramped apartment, working a brutal, grinding job, constantly interacting with unpredictable human beings in crisis. She has zero control over her environment.
None. She's at the mercy of the city.
But when Ezekiel's paranoia finally crosses over into her reality, she is the one who has to adapt.
Right, because their paths collide.
Because her visions start locking onto Ezekiel's targets.
Right.
She starts seeing these completely unconnected, ordinary young women facing imminent, deadly danger from this guy.
And this is the fulcrum of her entire character arc. This is where the functional avoidance breaks down completely.
She can't ignore it anymore.
She can't. because she is faced with a terrifying choice. She can do what she has always done: suppress the discomfort, convince herself the visions aren't real or aren't her problem, and just go back to driving the ambulance.
Just walk away.
But she realizes that if she ignores this impossible knowledge, innocent people are going to be murdered.
It's the ultimate stress test of her paramedic oath, isn't it?
Absolutely.
For years, her oath has been reactive. I will save the life that is physically bleeding out in front of me right now.
The present tense.
Right. But the universe is suddenly demanding that she apply that same oath proactively. She has to save the life that will bleed out tomorrow, based entirely on a neurological misfire she barely understands.
To do that, she has to step entirely out of her comfort zone.
She has to change her whole worldview.
She transitions from being a reactive responder who arrives after the disaster to a proactive protector standing between vulnerable people and a predator.
It's a huge shift.
And what's crucial here is that she doesn't do this with absolute confidence. She doesn't put on a cape and declare herself a hero.
No, she's a mess.
She does it while being deeply confused, terrified, and doubting her own sanity.
Let's talk about the targets for a minute, these young women she's trying to protect.
Right, the teenagers.
Because the story tells us that eventually, in some timeline, they're supposed to become these great, powerful heroes.
That's the prophecy.
But when Cassandra finds them, they're just kids, they're ordinary. So what actually constitutes a hero here?
It's a great question.
Is their future greatness just a byproduct of being hunted by Ezekiel? Like, does the trauma of surviving a psychopathic billionaire ninja literally forge them into the heroes that eventually defeat him?
Right. Do they become heroes because of the trauma?
Yeah, because if so, that's incredibly dark. It means heroism is just a symptom of severe trauma.
I think you're touching on a really common trope in storytelling, but the narrative here actually subverts that slightly.
How so?
It doesn't present their heroism as a mere reaction to trauma. Instead, it focuses on the concept of latent potential and emergent pro-social behavior.
Emergent pro-social behavior, meaning what exactly?
Meaning how they act toward others under pressure. As Cassandra spends time with these young women, trying to keep them off Ezekiel's radar, she starts to see the raw materials of who they are.
The potential.
Yes. They come from different backgrounds, they have different defense mechanisms, some are cynical, some are naive, but they all possess a baseline of resilience and a willingness to protect each other.
So the idea is that heroism isn't something that gets injected into you via a radioactive spider or a traumatic event.
Right.
It's a behavioral framework that's already there, waiting for the right contextual pressure to activate it.
Exactly. Heroism is essentially a series of micro-choices to prioritize the collective over the individual under extreme stress.
Prioritizing the group.
The narrative is telling us that heroism begins long before the superpowers manifest or the costumes are designed. It begins in the mundane moments of shared vulnerability.
Just trusting each other.
Right. Cassandra forms a bond with them. She sees their inherent worth. They aren't just variables in Ezekiel's math problem. They are actual human beings with agency.
And recognizing their agency is what leads Cassandra to the biggest, most mind-bending realization in the entire story.
This is where everything shifts.
Because as she's trying to keep these kids alive, frantically navigating these visions, she realizes something fundamental about how time actually works.
The nature of time itself.
Ezekiel operates on the absolute certainty that the future is a fixed script, a concrete wall. But Cassandra realizes that the future is incredibly fluid.
It's malleable.
Right. It's not a predetermined outcome. It's a sliding scale of probabilities that shifts based on the choices people make in the present moment.
This is a monumental shift in philosophical frameworks. We are moving from hard determinism to a fluid, compatibilist reality.
Or even branching timelines.
Exactly, akin to the many worlds interpretation in quantum mechanics. Ezekiel believes in the block universe theory, where past, present, and future all exist simultaneously and rigidly.
So it's already written.
In his mind, yes. The future is already written, and he just has to physically smash the text. But Cassandra discovers that human agency is the actual engine of reality.
It literally changes the entire mechanics of her power.
It does?
If the timeline is fluid, then her visions aren't guarantees. They're just high probability forecasts.
Forecasts, exactly.
It's like a weather app telling you there's a 90% chance of rain. It doesn't mean it's currently raining, and it doesn't mean you can't grab an umbrella and change how wet you get.
That's a perfect analogy.
But wait, if they are just forecasts, how is that a superpower? Isn't she basically just making really highly educated guesses based on subconscious data processing?
That's a brilliant distinction. You could argue that her precognition is simply a hyper-accelerated form of cognitive pattern recognition.
Like our brains normally do, just way faster.
Right. The human brain is already a prediction machine. When someone throws a ball at your face, you don't calculate the physics in real time.
No, you just duck.
Your brain instantly simulates the future trajectory, and you duck. Cassandra's brain is simply performing that simulation on a macro environmental level, taking in millions of variables and projecting the most likely outcome.
But the critical difference is her involvement.
Yes. The difference between her and a computer is that she is a participant in the simulation.
Right. The observer effect. The moment she observes the future, she alters it.
Precisely. And this is why her power is so much more difficult to wield than Ezekiel's rigid approach.
Because it requires constant adjustment.
Her power demands profound responsibility. She sees a possible horrific outcome, a car crash, a murder, and she has to reverse engineer the causality in real time.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. She has to figure out what tiny, seemingly insignificant choice in the present will pivot the timeline onto a safer branch. Should she move a chair? Should she delay someone by 3 seconds? It requires immense adaptability.
And this isn't just high-concept sci-fi philosophy, this is something we all do terribly in our own everyday lives. Think about how human beings process anxiety. We constantly treat our own anxious projections as fixed, unavoidable destinies.
I see where you're going with this. Cognitive behavioral therapy refers to it as catastrophizing.
Yes. Catastrophizing is basically everyday terrible precognition.
That's a really good way to frame it.
You have a meeting with your boss tomorrow, and your brain, trying to protect you, simulates the future.
And it goes straight to the worst case scenario.
Always. It generates a vivid, horrifying vision. I'm gonna stutter, my boss is gonna laugh, I'm gonna get fired, I won't be able to pay rent, I'll end up homeless.
A complete downward spiral.
And instead of recognizing that as a possible low probability vector, we treat it like a fixed timeline. We act exactly like Ezekiel.
We let fear dictate reality.
We let the terror of that imaginary future dictate our present reality. We get defensive, we snap at our partners, or we just completely paralyze ourselves and call in sick.
And by calling in sick or acting defensively, you create the exact negative environment you were afraid of.
You manifest the failure.
You've hit on something incredibly profound about human psychology. Anxiety thrives on the illusion of a fixed, catastrophic future.
It needs you to believe it's inevitable.
Right. The only way to break that loop is to adopt Cassandra's fluid perspective. We have to recognize that an anxious thought is just a forecast. It is not reality.
It's just the weather app saying it might rain.
Exactly. The future remains malleable, and it is entirely dependent on the agency we exercise in this exact moment.
But exercising that agency when you are terrified is incredibly hard.
It's the hardest thing in the world.
And to figure out how to actually do that, we have to look at the final piece of Cassandra's puzzle.
Her past.
Right. Because to fully master these fluid timelines, to stop reacting to the future and start shaping it, she has to do the one thing she's built her entire life around avoiding. She has to look backward.
She has to face the trauma.
She has to confront the mystery of her mother's death and her own origins.
This represents the necessary collapse of our functional avoidance.
The shield drops.
It has to. She can no longer use the chaos of the present or the terror of the future to outrun her past. As she digs into the mystery, she uncovers shocking truths.
About where her powers came from.
Right. She learns that her powers aren't just a random cosmic accident. They are deeply, intricately tied to her family's history, to research her mother was doing in the Amazon, to events set in motion decades before she was even born.
So it's generational. She inherited this architecture.
Yes, she did.
I want to change the metaphor here because initially we talked about building a fortress of the present tense to hide from the past.
Right.
But it's actually more like dealing with a severe physical infection, isn't it? As a paramedic, Cassandra knows you can't just put a clean white bandage over a wound that has debris and bacteria trapped inside it.
That's a great medical analogy.
The bandage looks nice. That's her highly functional present-day life. But underneath, the infection is spreading into the bloodstream.
It's festering.
Right. If you want to actually heal, you have to rip the bandage off, open the wound back up, and violently scrub out the debris.
Which is incredibly painful.
It hurts exponentially more in the short term, but it's the only way to prevent sepsis.
That is a much more accurate and visceral way to look at psychological integration.
Visceral is the word, yeah.
Confronting deep-seated trauma is essentially emotional debridement. When Cassandra finally stops ignoring her mother's history, she is opening up that wound.
She's scraping out the debris.
She has to reconsider everything she thought she knew about herself, about abandonment, about her mother's choices. It is a profoundly painful process of recontextualization.
But necessary.
Absolutely. Because the result of that pain is psychological wholeness.
She stops seeing herself as a victim of random circumstance.
Exactly. When she integrates her history, she gains the vocabulary to understand her present.
She gets the context.
Her powers shift from being an incomprehensible, terrifying burden to an incredibly specific tool that she is uniquely equipped to wield.
She finds her purpose.
She understands the why of her existence, which gives her the structural integrity to handle the massive cognitive load of seeing the future. She is no longer just surviving the timeline, she is actively participating in it.
Which sets the stage perfectly for the final collision.
The showdown?
The protector who has integrated her past and understands fluid time versus the predator who is completely isolated by his fear of a fixed destiny. Cassandra versus Ezekiel.
The narrative pushes them into this massive, dramatic final confrontation.
And if you look closely at the mechanics of this final battle, it is not a contest of brute strength.
No, physically they aren't matched at all.
Or even who has the clearest vision of the future. It is a clash of fundamental philosophies.
Exactly.
Ezekiel approaches the fight with exactly what you would expect from a hyper-wealthy, terrified determinist.
Total control and isolation.
He relies entirely on his own power. He isolates his targets, and he tries to dominate the environment through violence and control. He fights alone because he trusts no one.
Whereas Cassandra approaches the fight completely differently.
Total opposite.
She doesn't become invincible. She's still physically outmatched, but she leans entirely into connection and adaptability.
She leans on the girls.
She trusts the young women she's protecting. She relies on the bonds they've built over the course of the story. They act as a cohesive unit.
Because she understands that in a fluid timeline, every single choice matters.
The micro decision.
The future literally hangs in the balance of these micro decisions made in the heat of the moment. If she moves left instead of right, if one of the girls throws a distraction at exactly the right millisecond, the entire probability vector changes.
It's all connected.
But the most crucial element here is what drives those micro decisions. You know, I used to think the opposite of fear was courage.
That's the standard assumption, yeah.
But from watching how the brain works in these extreme stress scenarios, I'm realizing that the actual opposite of fear is compassion.
Oh, wow. Elaborate on that. That's a significant reframing.
Well, think about the neurobiology of it.
Yeah.
When Ezekiel operates entirely out of fear, his brain is flooded with cortisol.
The stress hormone.
He is in survival mode, which narrows his focus, limits his options, and makes him incredibly rigid and reactive. He can only see the threat.
Right, tunnel vision.
But when Cassandra decides to sacrifice her own safety to protect these girls, she is operating out of compassion. And compassion, altruism, social bonding, these behaviors release oxytocin.
The bonding hormone.
And neurologically, oxytocin acts as an incredibly powerful dampener on the amygdala's fear response.
That makes perfect sense.
By focusing on caring for someone else, she is literally down-regulating her own physiological panic. Her compassion allows her prefrontal cortex to stay online, which allows her to think clearly, adapt, and rewrite the future in real time.
That is a phenomenal synthesis of the narrative and the underlying psychology. You are absolutely right.
Thanks, it just kind of clicked.
Heroism, true strength, is not the absence of fear. An absence of fear is just psychopathy.
Right.
True heroism is the physiological and psychological ability to regulate fear through a commitment to something larger than yourself. Cassandra succeeds because her methodology is rooted in connection and pro-social action. Ezekiel fails because his methodology is rooted in isolation and self-preservation at all costs.
He traps himself.
His attempt to violently secure his own future is exactly what destroys him.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway of this massive, mind-bending deep dive.
Bringing it all together.
When you peel back the layers of precognition and action sequences, Madame Webb is fundamentally an exploration of how we construct our own reality.
It's about agency.
It's about the staggering weight of responsibility that comes with having agency in a chaotic world.
The narrative aggressively rejects the comfort of determinism. It tells us that we cannot blame the script because the script doesn't exist yet.
We're writing it right now.
The future is forged in the furnace of our present choices. Cassandra's evolution from an avoidant, trauma-burdened paramedic to a fully integrated, proactive guardian is the ultimate proof of concept.
It really is.
It demonstrates that our histories do not have to be our destinies, provided we are brave enough to look at them.
And provided we are brave enough to act, which is the thought I want to leave you, the listener, with today.
Something to mull over.
We've spent this time talking about enormous concepts, timeline fluidity, the trauma of impossible knowledge, the utilitarian traps of fear. But let's bring it right down to the ground floor of your own life.
Make it practical.
Think about the Ezekiel inside your own head. Think about the things you are terrified of happening in your own future. The failure, the rejection, the loss.
We all have those fears.
How often do you act like Ezekiel? How often do you build walls, sever connections, or frantically try to control the people around you just to prevent that specific, terrible vision from coming true?
Probably more often than we'd like to admit.
Ezekiel tried to violently destroy his dark future, and by doing so, he built his own cage and ensured his own demise.
The paradox of control. The tighter you grip, the less you hold.
Exactly. Now think about the alternative. What if you looked at your anxieties not as a fixed prophecy, but simply as a weather report?
A 90% chance of rain.
What if you realize that the dark future you are so afraid of is just one branch on an infinite tree of possibilities? If you knew with absolute certainty that freezing up and avoiding a difficult choice today practically guaranteed the worst outcome tomorrow, how would that change how you step into your day?
That's a powerful question.
What if the simple act of not acting out of fear is the very mechanism that cements the dark future you're so terrified of?
It's the ultimate call to agency. We may not control the chaotic variables of the universe, but we are the absolute authors of our response.
And your response is what writes the timeline. Thank you for spending this time with us, for wading into the murky waters of psychology, time, and trauma. Keep questioning your own fixed narratives, keep choosing your future, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.